Welcome to ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast, aka CTP, in association with thelibertybeacon.com. And I am your host, Joseph M. Leonard, and that's Lenard. CTP is your no muss, no fuss, just me, you, and occasional guest type podcast. I really appreciate you tuning in. As Graham Norton would say, let's get on with the show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Season 1, episode 51. We're nearing officially the end of the first season. Yes, I started the show last June, so there will be 52 weekly episodes for a full weekly show season, and going into season 2 in June of 2024. Again, not measuring season by calendar year. Some shows might have cheated and gone to season 2 on January 1st to try to pad their season number anyway. It's part of what I consider my honesty with you. I said this is a weekly show. It will then therefore be 52 shows for a season. And then, of course, yes, you know by now, if you're a regular, midweek Wednesday special episode drops, as well as here and there special listener feedback episodes. I don't consider those as part of the episode numeration, but I make that distinction again. A little in the weeds and behind the scenes here, just so you know. I consider that being a little more honest and upfront with you, and I hope that is one of the reasons why you indeed like and tune into this show. At any rate, and of course, I bet you knew I was going to say that, and yes, for the benefit of the transcript, I'm laughing at myself. At any rate, is prayer alone enough? Is the title of this episode, and the corresponding correlating thelibertybeacon.com piece. I had been contemplating this show. Probably will be rather short, as I've already recorded season 1, episode 52 for next week. That's going to be a short show, but this was planned in advance, as my ChristiTutionalist Politics 2 book just dropped on, or should have dropped. I'm recording this prior to June 1st. In fact, actually, I'm recording it on Saturday, May the 11th, and I'll go into why in a second. But ChristiTutionalist Politics 2, the book, part 2, is supposed to have dropped June 1st. So, aside from any unforeseen circumstances, that book should already be available. And as of now, it's planned as an Amazon exclusive, Kindle and soft copy, whereas ChristiTutionalist Politics, the first book, original book based upon this show, is available anywhere and everywhere books are sold. Amazon, yes, Books A Million, Booktopia in Australia, Barnes & Noble, your local mom and pop shop. But I'm getting off the beaten path again. There is a chapter in CTP2 book called just this: Is prayer alone enough? And why did I say I'm recording this on Saturday, May the 11th? Well, it is because just about, I'm looking at the clock now, 45 minutes ago, I hung up the phone with the Abolitionist Roundtable show, which can be found on Wham Radio. You can go to whamradio.com every Saturday from 9 to 10 Eastern Time. There's a listen live button there. You can tune in. I'm often a frequent caller to the show, and today was no different because they were talking about the Republic. But along those lines, they mentioned Franklin, a republic if you can keep it. And I said, yes, Franklin said that out of human nature. He knows, they knew that, and why in our document, "We the people" is in such a large font. Because sadly, people get lazy and complacent. I chimed in with, it is part of the reason, which ties to this show, why Jesus said the poor will always be among you. It's human nature since the beginning of time that there will always be some that are lazy and complacent and do the least possible to just be able to get by, to coast, to skate. In fact, in another TLB piece, I did specifically say that there, sadly, Jesus was not a socialist. We are to be charitable. I also said this on ART. We are to be our brother's keeper. We are to take care of the widows and orphans. The Bible also says a distinction between the unable, and if you're looking behind the scenes on the video, putting unable in quotes versus unwilling, which I'm also putting in air quotes. We have zero responsibility to take care of the unwilling, but to take care of the unable. And Jesus was not a socialist. That is a personal mandate, a personal responsibility, charity, not communist, socialist redistribution of wealth. And as I started saying in that other TLB piece, there are sadly some, they think they're being lazy. In a way, they're not, that spend so much more time, energy, effort in trying to beg, borrow, steal, con, scam than it would take for them to actually get a legitimate job and earn their way in life. But now to the actual point of, is prayer alone enough? As I mentioned on the Abolitionist Roundtable, host Phil Stargell, great Black conservative patriot, and his co-host Bruce Fleury, the author of The Negro Project and Margaret Sanger's duplicitous and dangerous plan for Black genocide in America, that the left is still all on board with, and why she created Planned Slaughterhood. But again, I digress, and another rabbit hole there. 2 Chronicles. Pray and turn from your wicked ways. I shall hear from heaven and heal your land. Is prayer alone enough? The question. The quick answer, no. And 2 Chronicles tells you that, hints at that if you take it in proper context of its own self-scripture and the other scriptures. You shall be known by your fruits. That means not just talk, but get off your butt and do things that can potentially make a difference. You have to do things, not just talk. 2 Chronicles, again, pray, turn from wicked ways. I shall hear, I will heal your land. Turn from wicked ways, right there, means a call to action. It means you not just pray, but get off your knees, get up off your couch, get out, do things to make this place a better place, to strive to get America to turn from its wicked ways. Then God, hearing will help, but not completely intervene. Turn from wicked ways. I shall hear. I will heal your land. That means he will help, not just hand it over and expect God to do it all through divine intervention. You, me, we all, we the people must act, not just whine, moan, complain, or indeed, yes, pray. Absolutely pray. Ask for help. Ask for the courage. Ask for the strength to do things. Not just ask for, dear God, please wave your magic wand and make everything like I would prefer it to be. That's not how it works. It's never how it worked. It will never be how it works until Jesus reigns again on this planet. So, at any rate, yes, I know, saying that on purpose, laughing at myself again. The bottom line, have I not laid that out? Please, is prayer alone enough to know? The answer is absolutely no. Shall be known by your fruits. You must act. You reap what you sow. Or as Rush, not Limbaugh, the radio show host, R.I.P. brother, Rush the rock group sings, if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. You're leaving the sowing to others, and lo and behold, you are a moron if you are surprised that we are all dealing with the rotten fruit that is reaped from the rotten seeds that we allowed others to sow. This is a perfect example of our American Republic and biblical tenets, our Judeo-Christian foundations. All these things matter. And also, as I brought up on the Abolitionist Roundtable, I've brought it up tons of times on Wham. I've mentioned it several times on this show. I'm about to do it again if you haven't figured that out. I mention it in my books, including Terror Strikes Coming Soon to a City Near You. Not a traditional fluffy Christian book, but a Christian book nonetheless, a historical fiction, or as I call it, faction, because we don't teach history today in schools. The Commie Mayflower Compact and the Bradford Community. We tried communism, socialism here on our own continent long before Marx and Lenin and Stalin and Mao and Che and Castro. Failure after failure after failure. It fails every time it's tried because of human nature. And it failed in the Bradford colony. They almost starved to death in that Commonwealth, the Commie Mayflower Compact, where no one owned anything. No one had any real incentive to do much of anything but the bare minimum to coast and skate, because they all shared that communist utopia notion of equity, which is a failure. Again, human nature. More and more and more people then get lazier and lazier and lazier, and there are less and less and less to actually pull all those who decided to lazily crawl into the cart and be carted around, because they're getting equal shares of everything. The same amount of food, the same amount of clothing, the same roof over their head, the same everything. Bradford instituted personal freedoms, personal rights, biblical personal responsibility, a return to the real notion of charity, not socialist redistribution, to be our brother's keeper, and the rest, they say, is history. Or as Paul Harvey used to say, now you know the rest of the story, right? America then went on to be founded on free markets and private property ownership because no one takes care of things that belong to someone else in general. Again, that's certainly not true of everyone, but in general, people do not take care of something as well as something they own. They own it. They worked for it. They acquired it. It is their private property. So they care for it more than something, a rental car. I'm sorry to go there, and I'm laughing because, yes, it's a repeating or recurring was the word I was looking for, joke often told by comedians, right? Treating the rental car far different than you do your own car that you know you need to take care of and maintain to make it last so you're not wasting your resources.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Ed Bondarenka, and I host Your American Heritage on Saturdays at 2 in the afternoon on this station. Your American Heritage is a show about the struggle we find ourselves in and how to react to it in the light of our biblical and American heritage. Listen to it while you're working around the house, the garage, cleaning the guns, walking the dog, driving, or just lazing around. Join me at 2 o'clock Saturdays here on Wham Radio, 1600 AM, 92.7 FM.
God bless America.
Using, abusing. That's why ghettos, slums never worked. The people given that housing had no personal real stake in it, no ownership. They used it, abused it, didn't take care of it, didn't respect it, didn't even appreciate what was done for them and given to them. Again, this all goes back to what? Human nature. And why, to tie it back, Franklin said, a republic if you can keep it. People would be lazy and complacent over time, and we see that. And we are reaping what others allowed evil people to sow in tearing down and destroying America. And this ties with next week's show, episode 52, which will wrap up the first season, which is entitled Rising Tide Lifts All Boats, which I actually recorded before this show. Just a full disclosure and honesty. But I recorded that because while listening to Abolitionist Roundtable after I had been on the air with them for like 20 minutes as a caller talking about these various things, the Ron Edwards notebook, a friend of mine, friend of ours, another great Black conservative patriot, and I only put the word Black in there because the left has to make it an issue. Identity politics. I don't give a damn if Ron or Phil were striped and had pink polka dots. It doesn't matter to me, but I say it because of the leftist identity politics, so it matters. Black conservatives, yes, actually exist. They're not unicorns, and the left don't like it that they think for themselves. So that's why I say that. But Ron Edwards' notebook played later in the Saturday, May 11th Abolitionist Roundtable show. Again, that airs on Wham Radio, Saturdays 9 to 10 Eastern Time. You can go to whamradio.com, hit the listen live link, listen in there too. Also, they give out the phone number. I won't Feel free to call in and chime in and give your 2 cents. It's a live show every Saturday, unlike most stations that play pre-recorded stuff or repeats of something from earlier in the week. Live conservative talk from blacks and whites and every other shade on Wham Radio on Saturdays, live. Again, off the beaten path and down another rabbit hole, but important to say the Ron Edwards notebook was played and inspired next week's show titled Rising Tide Lifts All Boats. I know you've heard that before. It's important to hear how or why Ron Edwards only implied it. He didn't explicitly or implicitly say it, but how I read it, how I took it from hearing him, because I know him. I've listened to his other pieces and understand the full context that, of course, the left will try to distort. At any rate, yes, I apologize. I do that now as an ongoing running gag. I hope I'm not annoying you with it. As I said in another episode, a podcast called At Any Rate would actually be a pretty darn good name, and I'm sure somebody will lift that idea from me and indeed start such a show. But I am wrapping this up. Is prayer alone enough? I hope these all quasi-relate with the previous shows, like episode 50, Slaves to the State, even 49, Mother's Day retrospective, but more so episode 48, Let Them Keep Pushing, generational shift occurring. Let the left keep pushing. Our youth are, as I joke in that article, I play Metallica, I embed the Metallica Unforgiven video in there saying, let us hope and pray there are no more, never more, any more unforgiven, as the point and purpose and of that song, as well as who else would put Metallica and Taylor Swift in the same article? I did. The left keeps pushing, yet our youth, thankfully, take it off. See what I did there? I know. Again, that's just my lame humor and way of sharing things or making analogies, use of metaphors, or as I like to joke, I'm too far clever an author and writer to use metaphors. I actually use meta sixes. But I'm pumped. I can never pass on the lame pun. And of course, before that, season 1, episode 47, continued left-wing violence. Again, that's part of the then episode 48 leads to that. Let them keep pushing. The more our youth are waking up and rejecting, indeed shaking off the leftist attempts to indoctrinate them. But I have again gotten off the beaten path. But the point being, these all relate. And of course, speaking of relating, correlation and corresponding, please see this week's thelibertybeacon.com piece by the same name, Is Prayer Alone Enough? Please pick up a copy of ChristiTutionalist Politics 2. The book should be up and available on Amazon exclusively, Kindle and soft copy, barring no hiccups or problems. It is meant to drop June 1st, but again, I'm recording this on May 11th. Thank you all. Take care. God bless. And remember, get off your knees at times. Get off the couch. Get out. Do things that can potentially matter. Turn from our wicked ways, and God shall hear from heaven and help, not wave a magic wand, but help and aid us in our efforts to keep our republic and return us to our Judeo-Christian foundations our republic was built upon. I hope I was able to tie that all into one bow, put a bow on it, as they say, wrap up the package all together there. See you all next week.
Thank you for having tuned in for ChristiTutionalist Politics Show. If you haven't already, please check out my primary internationally available book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you. Available anywhere books are sold. If you have locally run bookstores still near you, they can order it for you, or autographed copies are available online direct from me via terrorstrikes.info/shop. Be sure to check out more about today's discussion at thelibertybeacon.com, where my articles drop every Saturday. And let me remind, over time, the fancy high production items will come. But for now, for starters, it's just you as a very appreciated listener by me. All substance, no fluff, no fancy high production intro or inserts, at least yet, just straight to key discussion points. A show that looks at a variety of topics, mostly politics, through a Christian U.S. constitutionalist lens. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Take care. God bless. Like and subscribe to ChristiTutionalist Politics Podcast and share episodes. We need your help to grow the show.
It is a myth that terrorism stopped during COVID. Unfortunately, mainstream media opted to prioritize pandemic hysteria over promoting all news. Terrorism continues. Simply hoping that it doesn't affect you is not a strategy. The new book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you, featured on The Author Show, is now available in paperback from bookstores, online, or as an ebook exclusively through Amazon Kindle. Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you by Joseph M. Leonard. Order today.